You didn't give up dramatically. There was no moment, no breakdown, no single day you can point to and say, that's when it happened. It was quieter than that. It was a Tuesday. It was a Sunday evening that felt heavier than it should. It was a version of you that stopped mentioning certain things because people's eyes would go flat when you did. It was one dream quietly folded up and placed somewhere you stopped looking. And then another, and then another. Until one day, not with grief, not even with much feeling at all, you just adjusted. You recalibrated what you expected from yourself. You made the life smaller, so the disappointment would fit. And then you called that maturity. You called it being realistic. You wrapped the whole thing in the language of wisdom, so it wouldn't feel like what it actually was. A surrender. A quiet, dignified, totally invisible surrender. And the reason nobody came to help you is because you never looked like you needed it. You kept showing up. You kept functioning. From the outside, you looked fine. Maybe even stable. Maybe even put together. But something inside had stopped reaching. Something inside had started managing instead of living. Going through motions instead of moving toward something. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I want to talk to you about denial. Not the kind people warn you about. Not the unhealthy kind. The kind where you refuse to face your problems, where you pretend everything is fine while it burns down around you. That's not what I mean. I mean the other kind. The kind that is older than psychology. The kind that has nothing to do with running from the truth, and everything to do with refusing to let your current reality become your permanent one. The kind of denial that looks at where you are right now, the tired version, the dimmed down version, the version that stopped expecting much, and says, no, I'm not staying here. That's not delusion. That's not toxic positivity. That's not pretending the hard things didn't happen. That is a decision, and it might be the most important decision a human being ever makes. Here is what I've come to understand about people who actually change. Not people who talk about changing. Not people who have the right ideas and the right intentions. But people who actually, genuinely transform their lives. They don't do it from a good place. They never do it from a good place. They do it from exactly where you are right now. From the exhaustion. From the accumulated weight of years that didn't go the way they planned. From the quiet shame of knowing what they're capable of and living far below it anyway. Nobody transforms from comfort. Comfort is where transformation goes to die. The people who actually change are the ones who hit some version of the bottom. Not always dramatic. Sometimes just the soft, carpeted, barely noticeable bottom of a life that stopped meaning anything. And instead of making peace with it, they got furious. Furious quietly. Furious privately. With no audience. With no one watching. In the gap between who they had become and who they knew they still could be, they made a decision. And everything changed from there. There's a concept Nietzsche spent his entire life writing about. He called it self-overcoming. The idea that the highest thing a human being can do, not morally, not spiritually, but existentially, the highest thing, is to look at who you currently are and refuse to accept it as the finished product. To be in a constant, honest, unrelenting war with your own limitations. Not out of self-hatred, out of respect for what you're capable of. He didn't write this from success. He wrote it from a desk in a rented room, nearly blind, in poverty, ignored by almost everyone alive at the time. He was overcoming himself with every sentence. He understood what it cost to keep going when nothing external was telling you to. And he said, fuse it. Not once, not in one grand gesture. Every day. Refuse it every day. Viktor Frankl survived Auschwitz. I want you to sit with what that means before I continue. Everything was taken from him. His family, his manuscript, his name, his freedom, his dignity. He was reduced to a number and placed inside a machine designed to destroy people. And inside that, inside the most extreme version of circumstances that any human being has ever faced, he arrived at something that has never left me since I first read it. He said, everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, the freedom to choose your response. Not to choose what happens to you, not to control the circumstances, just the response, the inner posture, the thing you do with what you've been given, however brutal, however unfair, however unreasonable the hand is. He didn't deny the horror. He denied its right to be the conclusion. And that distinction between acknowledging reality and accepting it as final, that distinction is everything. That is the whole thing. You have accepted your current life as final. I don't mean you're happy with it. You might not be happy with it at all. But you've stopped treating it as something that can fundamentally change. You've started working within it instead of working against it. You've started optimizing for comfort inside the cage instead of questioning whether the cage has to be there at all. And the cage isn't external. It never really was. The cage is the story you've told yourself so many times. It stopped feeling like a story and started feeling like a fact. I'm not the kind of person who people like me don't. That ship has already. Those aren't truths. Those are conclusions you reached during the worst seasons of your life and then forgot to revisit when the season changed. Deny them. Not with affirmations, not with a journal entry, with action, with the decision, made quietly, made privately, made right now if you're willing, that the version of you sitting with this video is not the version that gets to finish the story. The caterpillar doesn't gracefully become a butterfly. Inside the cocoon, it dissolves completely. It becomes formless. Every structure it had built its entire existence around, gone. And from that dissolution, from that complete surrender of the old form, something entirely new assembles itself. You might be in the dissolving stage. It might feel like falling apart. That's not a bad sign. That is exactly what it's supposed to feel like. Falling apart and being finished are not the same thing. One is a process. The other is a choice. Don't choose finished. I want to leave you with one thing. Not a challenge. Not a call to action. Just a question. And I want you to actually sit with it after this video ends. Not move on to the next thing. Not open something else. When was the last time you wanted something? Genuinely, fully, without immediately talking yourself out of it. And let yourself want it without apology. Because that wanting, that unreasonable, embarrassing, completely unguaranteed wanting, that is not naivety. That is the thing that is still alive in you. That is the part that hasn't surrendered yet. Listen to it. Deny everything that tells you it's too late. Deny the version of yourself that made peace with less than you're capable of. Deny the quiet acceptance that has been slowly, softly, politely suffocating the life you were supposed to build. And then, without announcing it, without waiting to feel ready, without needing anyone's permission, begin. That's the Renaissance. Not Europe's. Not history's. Yours. One person. One refusal. One life that starts, right now, from this exact point. Not because everything is fine, but because you are not finished.